Expressionism. Born in Germany after the First World War, Expressionism tried to make buildings that felt like emotions. Architects pushed away from strict rules and clean boxes towards sculpted shapes that twist and swell. Surfaces flow like clay, windows stretch and bend, and rooms feel more like caverns than halls. The Einstein Tower in Potsdam is a strong example, with smooth curves that look almost alive. Expressionism opened the door for architects to show personality and mood, not just structure and function. You still feel its influence anytime a building leans into drama rather than straight lines. Programmatic. Also known as novelty architecture, this is the building as a sign. The shape tells you what is inside. Roadside culture in the United States made it famous, where drivers needed bold visuals at speed. A donut shop becomes a giant donut. A hat store becomes a giant hat. The point is to be unforgettable and a little absurd. It is commercial by nature, but it also shows how architecture can be playful and direct. In today's world of social media, this kind of visual joke still works because people love to share it. Googie. This is the look of mid-century optimism, born in the age of rockets, cars, and neon. Googie reaches upward with swooping roofs, starbursts, and flying saucer shapes that promise a bright future. Diners, motels, and bowling alleys wore this style to pull in drivers from the highway. Glass, steel, and glowing signs made ordinary places feel like a taste of tomorrow. Googie is weird because it is shamelessly fun, loud, and confident. Even now, it sets the tone for retro-futuristic design and branding. Metabolism, a visionary Japanese movement from the 1960s that treated cities like living organisms. The idea was to build a strong core and then plug in smaller modules that could be replaced as needs changed. That made the city feel adaptable, like a body that heals and grows. The Nakagin Capsule Tower in Tokyo became the icon of this idea, with a concrete spine and removable apartment pods. The tower was demolished in 2022, yet the core lesson remains powerful. Modular systems, prefabricated parts, and flexible planning are still shaping how dense cities evolve. Archigram, a British group that mostly worked on paper but changed how architects think. They drew walking cities on robotic legs, plug-in cities made of swappable parts, and instant cities delivered by Airship. The message was simple and bold. Buildings could be mobile, temporary, and fun. They questioned the heavy, static idea of a city and pushed imagination to the front. Even if their ideas were not built, their attitude seeded much of today's experimental design culture and made weirdness a serious tool. Earthship, a self-sufficient house type from the New Mexico desert that turns recycling into architecture. Thick walls are made from car tires filled with earth, which store heat and coolness. Big, south-facing glass walls capture the sun in winter and support indoor plants. Roofs gather rainwater, and simple systems handle power and waste on site. From the road, these homes look handmade and strange, but they hide a very practical logic. They show how low-tech materials and careful design can support real off-grid living. Brutalism. Famous for raw concrete and bold massing, Brutalism aimed for honesty in structure and material. Buildings are heavy, blocky, and sometimes fortress-like, with deep shadows and strong geometry. The name comes from a French phrase that means raw concrete. Supporters value its directness and social ambition. Critics find it cold and severe. Either way, it is a style that refuses to blend in. The best examples use light, proportion, and texture to turn simple concrete into powerful sculpture. Deconstructivism. Here, the calm box gets taken apart. Forms are broken, folded, and pulled in different directions. Walls tilt, roofs peel, and surfaces slide past each other. The result is controlled chaos that still stands up and works. Architects like Frank Gehry, Zaha Hadid, and Daniel Libeskind turned buildings into dynamic art pieces. It can be jarring, but that is the point. Deconstructivism asks you to see space as something active, not just a container. Blob. These projects rely on computers to generate smooth, continuous forms. Designers set rules and relationships, then let the software shape curves that would be nearly impossible to draw by hand. The result is fluid and organic, like a drop of water or a seed under a microscope. Kunsthaus Graz in Austria, nicknamed the Friendly Alien, shows how a building can feel playful and otherworldly at the same time. Today, many everyday buildings borrow parametric tools to fine-tune daylight, structure, and airflow, not just to chase unusual shapes. Biomorphism. Architecture that takes its cues directly from living forms. Instead of edges and corners, you get gentle curves and smooth joints. The TWA Flight Center in New York looks like a bird lifting into the air. The Milwaukee Art Museum opens a giant wing that shades the glass beneath. Biomorphism tries to make buildings feel more human and more connected to nature. The effect is soft, calm, and a little surreal. Art Nouveau. A turn-of-the-century revolt against rigid lines. Art Nouveau used flowing patterns, plant stems, and delicate ironwork to soften the urban street. In Barcelona, Catalan modernism pushed these ideas into fantasy. Antoni Gaudi's buildings twist, ripple, and glitter with ceramic mosaics. Columns feel like bones, rooftops look like scales, and facades bend like fabric. It is weird in the best way because it treats the city as a piece of living art. Futurism, an Italian movement that praised speed, engines, and the modern city. Its most famous ideas lived in bold manifestos and drawings rather than finished buildings. The goal was to make forms that felt fast and aggressive, full of sharp angles and strong diagonals. Even if much of it stayed on paper, the spirit pushed architects to see motion and energy as design tools. You can sense its echo in every building that tries to look like it is ready to move. Constructivism. Born after the Russian Revolution, Constructivism treated architecture as an instrument for a new society. It exposed structure, embraced diagonal frames, and used graphics as part of the form. Some projects were never built, like Tatlin's Soaring Monument. Others, like the Shukov Tower and the Melnikov House, showed how radical shapes could be made real. Constructivism feels experimental even now, with a tough, engineered beauty. Czech Cubism. Prague architects took the fractured planes of Cubist paintings and carved them into stone and stucco. Facades break into facets, doorways cut like gems, and balconies slice into sharp angles. The result is rare and striking, like a crystal grown into a house. It turns light and shadow into active ingredients and shows how geometry alone can make a building feel strange. Postmodernism. A colorful answer to modernist seriousness. Postmodern architects borrowed from history with humor and a wink. You might see a classical column, but it is pink and oversized. You might see a pediment, but it frames a window like a cartoon. It is part critique and part celebration. Postmodernism allowed buildings to tell jokes, play with symbols, and speak to ordinary people, not just experts. High-tech. Sometimes called Bowlism, this style puts pipes, ducts, and elevators on the outside. The structure is visible and honest, like a machine you can read at a glance. That frees up the interior as a flexible open volume. Color coding turns services into a graphic language. The overall effect is theatrical and a little shocking, yet deeply practical. It says that engineering is not something to hide. Kinetic. Buildings that move with purpose. Louvers pivot to track the sun, roofs slide to open a room to the sky, and facades breathe to regulate heat and light. Motors, sensors, and simple mechanics turn walls into instruments. The look is futuristic, because movement is unexpected in a building. It also saves energy and makes interiors more comfortable. When motion fits the need, it feels magical rather than gimmicky. Inflatable and pneumatic. Lightweight membranes create space with air pressure. Pavilions and halls pop up quickly for fairs, festivals, and emergencies. The forms are smooth and rounded, like bubbles grown to human scale. They are easy to transport and surprisingly strong. In a world that needs flexible space on demand, this idea keeps coming back. It shows how far you can go with fabric, air, and good engineering. Geodesic domes. A sphere made from a network of triangles that shares loads efficiently. Buckminster Fuller championed the dome as strong, light, and quick to build. The geometry encloses a lot of space with very little material. Domes feel both technical and playful, like science you can walk inside. They are still used for greenhouses, sports spaces, and temporary structures where speed and efficiency matter. Thin shell concrete. Concrete can be paper thin if it curves the right way. Shell roofs, shallow domes, and saddle shapes span long distances with minimal material. The trick is geometry. Curvature gives strength, so the structure acts like a stiff skin rather than a heavy beam. These buildings look effortless even though they are carefully calculated. They prove that efficiency can be elegant. Superadobe earth domes. Nader Khalili developed a low-cost system that coils long bags of earth into domes and vaults. Each layer is locked with barbed wire and finished with plaster. The method uses local soil, simple tools, and patient labor. The look is primal and gentle, like a structure shaped by wind. It is well suited to hot, dry climates and has inspired aid projects and experimental eco-villages. Paper and cardboard. Shigeru Ban showed that paper tubes can be real building elements. He designed churches, museums, and emergency shelters with recyclable parts that go up fast and cost little. The message is ethical as much as visual. Good design does not have to be expensive or permanent to have dignity. When disasters strike, this approach saves time and supports communities. Neo-Futurism. A sleek and optimistic language for the present. Sweeping curves, long spans, and glossy surfaces aim to inspire rather than hide. Bridges look like wings, stations like sea creatures, and museums like ribbons frozen mid-flight. It is high-tech romanticism that tries to make infrastructure feel special. When it balances spectacle with function, it can lift a whole neighborhood. Hundertwasser. A one-man revolt against straight lines and dull colors. Floors ripple, windows change from room to room, and trees grow from balconies. Walls sparkle with tiles and irregular patterns. The goal is to make buildings feel human and alive. It is weird, joyful, and stubbornly individual. Even small details, like uneven floors, remind you that perfection can be boring. Thanks for watching. What do you think about these architecture styles? Let me know in the comments down below. Also, remember to like and subscribe if you enjoyed.